Hi, sunshines! Welcome to Under the Sun with me, Dumi. I know it's been a minute since I've uploaded a video. Sorry about that. Just been going through a lot of school. But we are back, and in today's episode, we are having a panel of aspiring filmmakers from the AFTA Institution. We will be discussing our opinions of the South African film industry. So stick around, stay tuned, and let's get learning. Before we get into the video, just a disclaimer. This conversation was recorded on Zoom, so the footage looks a bit but the conversation is definitely worth it. So don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to comment, like the video, and there's like a baby just crying his ass off. Okay, without further ado, I will introduce you to the panel. First, we have Kimisha Chetty from KwaZulu-Natal. Kim has worked as an audio English teacher, as a shop assistant, and a yoga instructor. She's currently studying to be a script writer. She has a qualification in animation and in yoga. Hi, Kimi.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Then we have Katlego Mmako from Johannesburg. I'll have to read her bio because it's quite lengthy. Katlego has her qualification in the highest certificate in television, film, and entertainment production. She has worked as a production assistant, a camera assistant, and production coordinator for companies such as Tribal Media House, Black Child Productions, Imaginative Dream Agencies, and Star Films Company. She's currently working at the AFTA in Johannesburg as the social media marketer, and she's doing her Bachelor of Art in Motion Picture, majoring in editing and writing. So, hi, Kat.
Yeah.
Then finally, we have Amanda Sibisi from Rodipot Gauteng, who has her degree in the Bachelor of Art in Motion Picture, majoring in production design, and she's currently pursuing a degree in communication science. Hi, Amanda. So basically how this will work is that I have conducted a series of questions to ask our panelists, and each one will give us their opinion, and I will add in my 2 cents as well from time to time. And basically this is for critical thinking, for learning, and let's just tap into these ladies' minds. Let's go! So the first question is, have you always had a love for film school, and when did you start your journey as a filmmaker? We'll start with Kim because you like staring at me.
Okay. It's like, who's going first? Okay.
Yeah.
I did. I mean, after high school in 2009, I was like, I'm gonna go study animation. I want to make cartoons and make video games because I love watching cartoons and playing video games. Stupid reasoning, but I loved it. It was great. And then I remember I just wasn't doing well. Like I just couldn't get the hang of it. It was fun, but for the industry, you've got to really be good for animation. Otherwise, it's gonna look like trash. And then I just decided let's leave it. I was like, I want to be like my big sister, go somewhere overseas, gap year, this. Then yoga happened, and I don't know. And then I was like, okay, let's go back into film. And I actually went after for music. That didn't happen. So I tried LP for acting, and I found screen. We had to take all subjects, and screenwriting just it sparked, and I was like, that's the one. So I ended up into that, and that's where I want to stay. And I know most people are like, yeah, I want to leave. I want to get to a bigger, better place. But to be honest, I'd love to build up film in the country because we have such a unique sense of humor. And I love humor. I love our humor. South African humor is different. Thanks to me.
Manda?
For me, it's weird. I was more of like a book and music child, and then I think around about into like my mid-teenage years, there was this fascination with how things were done in films. There was always that thing like you'll see a cool spectacle, and you're like, how did they do that? How did they do that? But for most of my life, I was genuinely confused. I didn't really know what to do. Like after university, ended up taking like 8 subjects in high school because like that's how confused I was at one point. And then there was like this university open day, for lack of a better word, where like universities would come to my high school to like sell themselves, like students essentially. And the dean at the time for AFTA was there, and they were like, they're a film school. Then I got interested and I spoke to my parents and we went for an open day, and I was like, yeah, I think I want to do this. So literally the point where it was the only university I applied to. My parents still don't know this, but then I applied there, I got accepted, and I kind of flitted around. I came into the year where we could only take like 3 disciplines a semester. So in the first semester, there was screenwriting, directing, and producing. And the second semester was cinematography, data grading, and production design. And then I found myself liking kind of everything, but writing and directing proved too, how do I say it, formulaic and like technical for me because I'm more of a book person than film. So, but I found that the practical side of things, the behind the scenes, was more my niche. So it like around about second year was producing and production design. And then I found my niche in production design and I was like, this is the one for me. I love it. So yeah, that's the journey.
Nice.
Well, a summarized version.
For me, it started with theatre production, right? I used to follow a lot of Tyler Perry's theatre production, and at that time, you know, when Medea was still big and stuff within the theatre production. And I remember the thing that I loved about theatre was that it was real, it was authentic. You couldn't just like, if you made a mistake, it couldn't be like, cut, let's redo it, you know? It was live. That's one of the things that I enjoyed. And I think also being in a family when I still used to live in Joburg, would like attend like Joburg theatre productions, where I think for me the most amazing theatre production was The Lion King. And then throughout my high school, the initial plan was for me to go study at the University of Pretoria to do dramatic arts. And due to my minimum requirements that I couldn't meet, I then had to have like a second option of the school that I need to do something similar to what dramatic arts is, like theater. And then I was introduced to AFDA, and the higher certificate course that I did, being trained to be somebody who's behind the scenes. That part, I fell in love with it. I fell in love being on set. I fell in love being surrounded by all these equipment, and from just like moving from being a production assistant and just assisting in everything, and just be now understanding how camera works and how all these production paperwork, and it's to feel like you're kind of like in control was something that was a bit of a satisfaction to me. So I feel like after is just one of the things that made me understand the whole love of motion picture and what it is in the industry, and also South Africa and also other countries. So yeah, I would say after really was the thing that grew my love for film, you know, and also working in the television industry. So yeah. That's just another short summary of that I have been within the journey of from AFTA and stuff like that.
Yeah. Cool. I think I'm also the same with you. It wasn't necessarily a love for film in the beginning. I was more of like an artistic person, and I had a very much of a love for art. And for me, my art was almost like a home for me. So I wanted to do something that was towards the same medium of creativity, but then not necessarily painting and drawing and all those things. What do you guys have? What advice do you guys have for students or aspiring filmmakers that want to go go into this industry? You can start.
I would
Oh, okay,
say,
maybe you can go.
oh, sorry. I would say go in, like, obviously go in with passion, but also be very realistic and be very prepared to work hard. Because school is, we always, like, school felt like a battle. Honestly speaking, the 3-year degree after always feels like the world's heaviest battle, but it's only the beginning. Our lecturers are not lying about the fact that you think this is hard, you've only just started, because you will feel like it's the hardest thing, and it's like, okay, so now you've worked this hard to get your degree, now how about you work 20 times as hard to get noticed and actually get work and get recognition. You will not you will not have like the motivation to do that if you did not enter realistically speaking that this doesn't mean that the minute I get out of here I'm going to make it. It means that I now have all the tools to work 20 times as hard to get out there. All they're doing is equipping us. So being realistic and passionate is something that has to be very counterbalanced. Like your passion and your sense of like being very realistic about where you're going and how it's going to happen need to work together. For me, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Kimmy?
I would say be sure. Like, film school is expensive. If you waste that, oh, it's heartbreaking. Like hundreds of thousands of rands. And also, it's something in the film industry and you learn in film school. If you are wasting someone's time, even a little, you're gonna get fired. The producers don't play. So be sure, and if you are sure, give it your 100%. So even if you're not doing the, like, it's not coming out as planned, they can still see how much effort you put in and that you're a hard worker, that you will shine, like you will benefit the industry, not just be like an accessory on the side. So if it is your passion, go for it 100%. If it's not, don't waste your money, your time, and everyone else's time. You're just gonna get bad reference letters. No one's gonna want you anywhere.
Sure, I agree.
All of it. Yeah.
Catnap?
Definitely agree with what Kim and Amanda were saying. Definitely be sure, be driven by the passion. And I think I emphasize this, not necessarily emphasize it, but then I always tell people to always familiarize themselves with the industry, the South African industry, because the moment you get out of AFDA or any film institution, you have to know these people and the work that they have produced. Because for instance, Katlego, the writing and stuff like that. Dumi goes to a film school. Once she's done graduating, she starts applying for jobs. And you applying, I'm seeing your CV and I'm asking you, Dumi, what production have you seen that I have made? And for you to say that you haven't seen anything because of the stereotype that you have about South African content, it's not really the standard that you're looking for. You really need for people to understand that they need to make themselves aware of the different productions that they are, who the executive producers or the owners are, they are, and stuff like that. Because your chance is literally 2 seconds when you see the person by the street. You don't know their name, you don't know. That's your opportunity to be like, yo, hi, quickly. My name is who whatsoever, this is what I do. I've seen your work, I'm inspired by it, and you never really know your chances. So it's very, very important for people to understand the people that are in the industry, the different productions that are in the industry, because as much as there's different range that's it's your choice whether you want to do for the commercials, television, or film, or music videos, because we're so broad at the very same time. So you really need to understand what your goal is. As much as, yeah, we do enter film school and we're still trying to understand our world and our industry and environment, it's while you're still at it, educate yourself of the different directors that really inspire you for either commercials or music videos and etc. It's really just knowing. It's like knowing your peers at school, you know. It's like knowing that you have the best editor or DOP and their name is Amanda or Kim and stuff like that. It's really educating yourself about about your industry in South Africa, because those are the people that you're going to be applying jobs to. You'll be like researching a list of different productions, and you'll be like sending them, but then half of them you don't even know the work that they've done, you know. It's just about like just educating yourself, that's all.
Yeah, I
But
think
and also to everything that Kim and Amanda had said, that definitely adds to it. That definitely adds to it. Yeah.
yeah, I agree with you guys 100%. I definitely agree with everything that you're saying. It's important to familiarize yourself with the industry that you're in, because then why you're here if you don't know the people that you're going to work with, you know? And also being realistic about our goals and our ambitions, you know? Just because you're a director at AFTA, you're not going to jump into the industry and then become this. You're going to start at the bottom making coffee, guys. So humble yourself. Yeah, I
Yeah.
hear I hear
Thought
you.
of like that, to a point where you even feel like you're getting good at this coffee thing. Hey, so like I can actually really do it. But yeah, it is.
What do you think about the South African film industry and how can you change it for the better? Chetty.
The last film that I saw in the cinemas that I really loved was Losing Lerato, and okay, as much as there were like few things that could have also like been done well in that film, I feel like somehow, somewhere, we just have certain people that understand the way of storytelling and how to do it, and we have people that aren't really. I'd feel like they don't necessarily understand their target audience, you know. As South Africans, like, because you are writing for us, you're not writing for them. We are the ones that are going to be attending the cinemas and stuff like that. So if it is something, if you're going to produce something that isn't really relevant to majority of the people in South Africa, then obviously you're doing it for somebody else. However, I do have hope that sometime, like as we grow, that the industry is gonna make like good films. I I honestly don't know. I wouldn't really say, like, with my opinion about the industry and how it's been. I'm just hoping that there's a progression, honestly, you know. Yeah, I'm just like really hoping that there's a progression from where we are now traveling to, from the Oscar award-winning Chetty, from where we are now. I honestly, I wouldn't really just have an actual stable opinion about our industry, because it's just like it has its ups and downs. That's what I can say within the film industry. I'm not talking about commercials. I'm not talking about music videos. I'm just talking about in general film. We can do a whole better. Like, we could really do better. Yeah.
You mean? Sorry, I was just typing to someone. Okay, so definitely agree with you. We can do better. My whole thing is that, yes, obviously we're South Africans and we have a very specific target audience for the country. But however, some movies that are international, their target audience are like not to do with like culture. It's like a broader thing, like just for kids or for women. And I would really like to focus on that, because I think we can be that good to focus on just that. So why if America and other international filmmakers can make a film like Frozen, where it's just for kids and everyone around the world loves it, why can't we make a princess movie? I would love to make a princess movie and just say that it came from South Africa, like we did that. And it can be that good. I mean, Disney and Pixar and all of that, that's tops. That's just where we want to see ourselves getting to. Why not? Why are we not at that level yet? I don't understand it. And it's just because we're not, I think it's because we're not training enough people with the right people to train them. And our animators are great. They're really great, but where's our feature films? Where are they? We need to get there now. And even our live actions, we can do why don't we also do a hero movie? Come on. I want to be a part of changing that, like fantasy, something that's not just focused. South Africa is so focused on our dramas and the issues that happen here, and I love it. But I also want to focus on like the lighthearted stuff.
And Amanda?
I'm probably gonna come through with like some unpopular opinions because that's just how it be with me. My first thing is like more on the behind the scenes of it is like what I've noticed from actual experience is there's this need for the people who are already there in the industry to stay there and not allow us young like qualified creatives to get a space in the industry, because I feel like maybe us as like younger people with like a more broader mindset of things, we would bring fresh ideas and like ways to approach the problems that the two previous ladies have mentioned, like genres and approaching audiences and all these changes. But because the same people are still like at the top and they're low key, high key, like basically reproducing the same material, because I noticed a lot of like the films that Katlego mentioned, they're all rom-coms, all of them. So like for that, for example, and a lot of people are not like engaging into that because of like what she said as well, as like it's you're not writing for us. There's also like outside of the content problem, South Africans themselves are not exposed enough to their own content to love it, because every one of us, when you're told that you want to get into film, it's like, you want to make films, who's gonna watch? First thing you hear. But these are the same people that love watching American cinema, but like they're not learning to love their own stuff. Because I understand us making content for like our people, but you must also like, you as the person, love me enough to go and watch my content in cinema, paying for it, you know. And a lot of us, like a lot of people don't do that. That's why most of us end up working for television, because people are at least investing in watching their television shows a lot. They love their television shows, but they do not necessarily have that same love for film. Any film that does really successful is always regarded as an anomaly in our country because of the rarity of people making like a norm of, I'm going to go and watch a South African film in cinema. So there's, for me, there's those little microcosms that like are influencing our progress and where we are. And like the fear that most of the time, whenever there will be a live action made, it follows the same formulas. And then people are like, but why aren't we moving forward? Except they're using the same formulas. Example, those 4 rom-coms. It's like in a row and they're being released and they're probably producing the same results in attention. But people are like, but why aren't we moving forward? And it's like, give new people with new ideas space to create their films. And it's also like, it's affected by how the government is not funding us. They're not properly supporting us as film people who work. Like when you heard on the news how they're like, no, they legally cannot help freelance artists, but but the salary you are taxed as a freelancer is enormous. But you're supposed to live on that. It's all these microcosms, I feel, that are like holding us back as a film industry. Is that if we were funded as much, if we were allowed opportunities, once we get to the industry to learn, to make these mistakes, to move forward, I feel that's what would move us forward. So yeah, I have a lot of like strong opinions about it, but I think I'll just leave it like here for now.
No, I hear you, Doc.
I
I definitely agree with you 100%. And I also think one of the biggest problems is that as South Africans, we like to have a boss and someone to literally look up to and give us a job, whereby we as ourselves, we're not creating our own jobs and creating our own material. If you watch most of South African films, they're not even South African. They're like New Zealand or America or someone coming here to make a movie about us and then hiring us and then telling our stories their way, you know? So I think that is one of the biggest problem, is that, the people that are at the top are not giving us an opportunity to really broaden our horizons and, you know, like invite new people into the industry with new ideas and, you know, develop the industry that we're in, as well as we ourselves, we're not taking initiative to actually, you know, create the things that need to be done.
And also to me, like how you said, they come here and they'll put the lead actors, their people,
Mm.
not our people as the lead actors.
Like
We're just
even
the extras
a
in
whole
our own
African
story.
American speaking Xhosa. What
Imagine.
nonsense is that?
Like, what? Come on.
I think the best example, like it'll hurt a lot of people's feelings, but one of the best examples is Black Panther, because that story is supposed to be set in Africa, but
Mm.
the lead
Black
actor is an
Panther.
American guy named Chadwick,
Mm.
and the other actors are a Kenyan-born actress who's not even like properly like higher. The
Okay,
Xhosa was cringe because
I
it
heard.
was not actual people who were supposed to be speaking that language. It's all these little things, like it hurts feelings, but it's the best example.
Does.
It's a story about
It
Africa,
does.
but the lead people.
Mm.
But also,
True.
Loki, in terms of humor, it would be nice for a different approach with the humor, because another thing that you tend to find is that if we do want to go for humor, it's either going to be racially charged, like
Mm,
those black girl
mm,
marries white guy drama with the parents. I don't know how many movies there are about that right now, or like
honestly.
some sort of racial tension or some sort of wedding tension. So, and it's like our humor is so much more niched than that. It's like we could do so much more with it, honestly. It's just so unique. Like political humor, for example, we haven't done that, and we do it all the time with the memes and like newspapers and
Yeah.
whatnot. What's stopping it from being a film? Like an entire political parody, that would probably be huge.
Going back to our industry, what is your opinion on how the same people get selected for productions to work in productions every time? So same people in everything that we see. What is your opinion on that? Kat, you've been very quiet.
No, bruh, I've been listening to everyone. For film, going back to the films that I had mentioned and the film that I saw, but yeah, I think it was last year, The Love Lives. Yeah, they come to a point where I get sick and tired of seeing the same faces every now and then. Like we don't have other people that aren't studying the craft that they're within. And sometimes the faces that we see now, like most of the times, is it contributes to how they are public figures, and the reason that they are used is maybe to gain more audience to what they are producing. And for me, I would really, I feel sorry. I feel sorry for the people that have actually studied the craft of being a performer, being whatever think that they can contribute in the industry, and for them to kind of like use the same people over and over again, it really gets tiring. It really does get tiring. I remember there was this conversation, it was like trending on my my timeline on Twitter, where it was a thing going on about how Somizi gets everything and stuff like that. And it was a thing of, it's debatable because, guys, it's Somizi. He might be the one who maybe pitched the idea and stuff like that. But then does it bring money? Of course it brings money. It's Somizi. Who would want to watch Somizi? And it's, oh, like this one is complex, guys. I'm not gonna lie. This one is huge, because we're not only just looking within film or or the people that are in front of the camera, but then we also look at production houses that they always go to the same people over and over again because they're excellent, and it's something that Amanda said earlier on. Is like, we kind of like, they also need to give us people opportunities, the people that have recently have graduated, opportunities to be within that field, so that they can also grow and be like the highest ranking of being in the production companies and stuff like that. It's like, no, I know, like, I feel like they'll always go for the same sound designers, the same like everything, guys, and it's all about giving us opportunities. Sometimes people get surprised when we go overseas and work for UK production companies. That's because I'm not given an opportunity here in my own country, and that's unfortunately because in UK they are the ones giving me an opportunity. Like, there's going to be a point where I'm going to be tempted to actually take something that is so authentic, that is within the African continent, and then now I'm taking it that side, and I'm actually making it huge that side because nobody's actually giving me attention in my own country. And yeesh, like I said, it's huge, it's debatable, it's big. I don't even know how to think about the whole thing of how these industries or companies keep on using the same people every now and then. But sometimes it really gets tiring. I'm not gonna lie, it gets tiring.
Kimmy, what's your opinion on it?
Like, just to add on, like, it just feels like before we can get in, we just have to somehow prove ourselves. And like, that's the only way, otherwise we won't be given a chance. And we're lucky enough at AFTA because we make a film every term. So if we make a really good one, we have something to put in our show reels and they go, actually, she's really good, let's give her a try.
Yeah.
But what about the other film schools that don't? Like, I think there's, you know, like maybe NMNU, I don't know. They make one film in the entire
Spectrum of education.
of the whole study. And like, that's one. What if you screw up that one? And then when do you get a chance? So now you have to go and spend your weekend trying to make a film with your friends. And I mean, which is good, but there needs to be some other way where the equipment's not so expensive and we can actually have a shot saying, here's what I can do. What do you think? Give me a chance.
Yeah, I hear you. Amanda?
So my opinion on it is that it's like what Lecha said, is that it's a complex thing. Like, I'm not entirely sure what the selection for like behind the scenes crew entails in terms of them using the same people. I think it's a factor of connections probably. But what the public figures did admit to, I'm not probably saying it's what they do every time, but what they did admit to is that the reason you're going to see Dineo, for example, on TV, in a movie, presenting in radio, is that those 4 jobs together equal one salary that manages like her life. And that doesn't speak to the people selecting these people, that speaks to the people who are paying people on the arts. It's like, why are you not paying people in the arts enough that one job is enough for them? Actors in America will do like one movie and that'll be enough salary to sustain for at least 3 years. And yet here in South Africa, you will have to see the people in at least 4 different mediums for what they claim is like enough for them to maintain a life for them. And I feel like that's a flaw that's not necessarily, you know, like you can't fully blame the people who are selected. You have to kind of blame the people who are selecting these people and the people who are paying these people. That it's very flawed that you need to spread yourself so thin to be able to get to afford like a stable life, not even a rich, just to live. Like that's that's like a way of life that is flawed. Like I feel like it's a very complex thing. Obviously it gets tiring having to see these same faces all the time, and to make it worse, in probably like usually the same genres, which also like compromises the actors because then it typecasts them because you're always seeing them in the same genre films all the time. And like that's another flaw. And then it's also blocking like other actors who have degrees in film and theater and all these people who could have these spaces to occupy, but they can't, because you start realizing that maybe one of the reasons why these actors are so competitive is that you are going to come into the space that I'm also barely holding on to get a job and take over for me, because I'm trying to live here and now you want to occupy this space and take from me. So I feel like it's a very complex thing. There's multiple, like it's multifaceted. There's many reasons why these things happen. And I think if we can sort out the problem wherein like the country does not fund its people in arts, because even in music, there's like musicians who die poor. And that's weird. It's like you can like supply me with 8 years worth of music and you like your family couldn't even afford your funeral. It's very flawed. So maybe if it could start, it's very idealistic, I know, but maybe if it could start with like the country funding its arts people, maybe there could be a way forward in which we're not really like seeing a lot more of the same people. Then if we do see them a lot in the same spaces, then maybe you could like equate it to like greed then at some point. Then like, there would be a more solid reason, because for now I feel like it's very complicated. There's multiple reasons why we see that happening right now.
How, as a creative and a storyteller, how important is it to collaborate with other South African students and film schools? How do you think that is important? Amanda, we'll start with you.
It's important, like for us, for example, like I feel like if you guys are like after graduates and whatnot, you could start there, for example, because like you all know each other and you're collaborating here, you're starting here, and you know how your creative system works, because I don't know how to say it, you're working within it like together around the same time. Plus it also eliminates the need for competition. Instead of competing against one another, we're working together for the bigger cause that is like expanding our industry. Because then it would be great to start from like collaborating amongst each other as students, and then opening up the space for other young South African creatives to want to work together. And then opening it up to, if we're saying international, we don't start thinking like abroad, collaborating with other African creatives, like young African creatives. But like if Africa, instead of like us competing against one another, we started like collaborating, we'd be a lot more powerful than we currently are now, because a lot of African stories like have so much potential if we would just like, come together and work together with it, you know. But instead there's this like needless competition going on right now, and it's like we could do so much better working together. Like it's with film students, how we're always like competing. It's like there's literally no need. If instead we just collaborate on the project, you know, it could actually maybe reach a lot further than we thought it would reach. And you see that with like our little film cruise that we had to do it after. It's like when you and like your other PD student were helping each other on the project, the work got done faster. People loved the work. They weren't comparing who did what better. Like that's where it starts. So, but like the minute people graduate, there's this need to compete. Like, no, I'm going to get that job first, and I feel like it kills us.
True. Kimmy, I agree with you.
No, I can't agree with you more. Like it's when you put aside your ego, then suddenly you guys are working together, and your ideas and your ideas and your ideas and my ideas, then suddenly it's becoming like something you want to watch. Everybody has everybody understands the story from their point of view. So when we add it all together, then it makes a more well-rounded story. Like, don't fight, guys. Work together. Yeah, even in your teams, it's not just I'm the screenwriter, you're the cine, you're the like, you tell it from the CMS point of view so we can all get it. Don't just be like, no, it's my story, therefore I'm not changing it because I wrote it like this. Just relax, get every side, and then it gets a better story. It's just, you want the best story. It doesn't matter how you get there.
True.
I think so. Yeah, definitely collaborate, and even not just with other actors, with all there's so many other film schools in the country as well, and they're all doing well. So like, let's just get the best.
True.
That's true.
That's what I think.
I mean, I'll definitely have to agree with Kim and Amanda on what they're saying. Collaboration is power. It would also be really, like, I feel like maybe once in a while it would also be very nice if like film students could collaborate with other film institutions. I think this was the very first time we looked into other film schools, not necessarily film, but then other universities that are doing film. Especially, I'm just going to mention the person that won the SEPT award for best film, best student film, and the person was from Vert. And I checked the films that they have done, and from where I'm sitting as an after student and from what I've seen, I feel like we could learn a lot from one another, you know.
Definitely.
We could learn a lot from one another, and it's just, and how, like, I feel like creativity runs wild, man. And when we are just as an institution, we always, if like, I feel like our goal is just to just be better than the next person. And like, yeah, I feel like collaboration is power, collaborating with and sharing what other departments and other crew members of your film are uh that have to make the film better. It's putting down your ego. It's not about your film, it's our film, and we all want to tell
It's out.
stories that touches us, like for someone that did makeup or production design, was like, I did that and it looks good on screen, like for each and every single element and aspect that happens in film, it like the film already just needs to be like great and to see, and for someone to actually look at it would see that collaboration here really did the most. So definitely agree with everybody. Yeah.
I definitely agree with you guys. And in terms of speaking about other film institutions within our country, it's important to realize that yes, we are all studying film, but every institution teaches differently, whereby we are learning more practical based things, and obviously we do touch a bit on theory. There's other institutions that are going heavy on theory and educating these students about the history of filmmaking, whereby others are also teaching them just like the practicals. Like with higher certificate course, it was basically pracs on top of pracs on top of pracs, summaries of what actually happens within the film industry, and then they distribute us out to basically learn these things and be in the industry and be surrounded by these people that are here to teach us. So I think it's important that when we collaborate, we realize that everyone is learning different things, and when we put those things together, we could make magic. Do you feel that the film graduates, so Amanda's here, have been given the opportunity to work in the film industry? So like, just as you guys were saying, that we're not really being given room for new voices to be heard. So how do we change that then? How do we shout enough to be heard? Let's start with Kat.
I mean, I would have to say, like, doesn't it have to be like you creating your own work? You know how people in the industry is like, if you're not been given your opportunity, just create your own work. Like, if that's easy. Sometimes it's not that easy, honestly. It's not. It would be definitely really collaborating with other people that haven't been given the opportunity. So like, okay, guys, okay, do me, okay, Amanda, this is the concept that I'm having. Do you think we're gonna make it work? If it's just only us in thought that we have no money, no budget, no funding, no whatsoever, and we have to create this, and we have to make it big. Not necessarily big, but then we have to make it like whatever that we're creating needs to be something that would keep people talking about it, and therefore we get recognition for the work that we've done. It's very rare where we actually really do create something that people talk about it and we'd be like, oh, actually Dumi and Amanda created that. I was like, oh really? So I feel it's just like creating jobs for ourselves, but it's also not an easy thing. I would have to say it's also not an easy thing. But I know a few people that are constantly trying to like create content for them. Like the hugest platform is YouTube. That's where they start. Like if we can just like have our numbers there, have people see our work, having like reposted like everywhere. That's kind of like how they are known. Oh, Dumi the photographer. Oh, Amanda the production designer. And then that's when it's like people now all of a sudden see you for your work ethics and for what you do and create. So I think just creating your own work kind of like works it or pulls it out for me, honestly. Because what else are you gonna do? Are you just gonna sit and just watch and see that you're not being hired or anything? You need to create that, and from creating that, you build up your show from what you have created yourself, not from what someone has given you an opportunity to do it. And that's it. I feel like that's just it for me. That's just it.
Amanda, do you agree?
I agree with what she says, because to be honest, we're broke idealistic artists who want to be given an opportunity to showcase our work, and there's rarely like an opportunity where you just stumble on like R1 million and you're like, okay, let's do this. And even then, it's like it's not even enough because making films is expensive. So what
True.
like the direction most people are taking these days is to market themselves on social media, because social media is the future at this point in how like people advertise themselves, rebrand themselves, present themselves. Because I know a couple of people, like an actor I met on a set that I was assisting on, promoted his web series on Instagram. And it's taking off because of the double exposure, where he's like streaming it on YouTube and also like promoting it to his followers and like asking his friends to promote it on Instagram, and it's slowly taking off. Like the numbers, the viewerships is increasing. So it's his way, because he was not getting enough work out there. So he was like, he's going to make his own web series. Like I think it's like a low budget type thing where it's just like single cam, and he's putting it on YouTube and it's getting viewership there. So we're starting to have to be very innovative in how we make things and how we get those things out there, and we're giving ourselves a platform as creators who want an opportunity to like expand our work and get the opportunities. So from what's looking like right now is that like social media seems to be like a stepping stone in getting there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you with the power of social media and the fact that you expose yourself to a broader audience rather than just South Africans themselves, but the whole world gets to see what you're up to. And I think the most important thing is that, yeah, guys, being a creative is a lot. There's not always money there, but then the idea of passion and having the love for it, you know. So I think it's important to create because of the love that you have for what you're doing, because of the love that you have for your audience, and just wanting to entertain others. So I think it starts off from there, where we realize where our love comes from, you know. So we are at the end of our show, ladies. I wanted to ask you one last question. What is the hardest thing you've come to realize about our industry?
I think the hardest thing about being in the industry would be survival. The fact that we all got bills to pay. And the most unfortunate thing is seeing people settling for less because they can't get the work in the industry. They can go back to their PA job or go to a retail shop or whatever, just for them to have a source of income monthly, you know? And it's also a thing of, can we really educate the people that are coming into the film industry to have something on the side that would be like a monthly income to them? Because we know that being in the industry, it's not guaranteed that I'm going to have like a monthly income for the rest of my life, you know. And it's another thing that we kind of like have to make people understand, and for them to like, yo, bruh, the passion though, the passion is the one that kills us, because we really want to be in here and we don't want to live any single day of our life doing something that we don't love just for the sake that I have bills to pay, you know. That I feel like that is just that's the only hardest thing about being in the industry, the fact that you're not guaranteed a monthly salary. It's that pay for that one day or for that week, and then you're just waiting on another call, you know. We're just living on calls. We're just hoping that the next time my phone rings is some production. It's just like, yo, bro, we're giving you a rate. It's like a 1K a day, and then you're just excited, but then does it really sustain you? I feel like that's the only thing. I feel like that's the hardest thing about being in the industry, the money part. As much as you were saying that let us not do it for the money, but for the passion. But then when reality hits, though, like I gotta eat, you know, and so it's that. I feel like that's just that.
Amanda, do you agree?
I totally agree, because it's real. Like it goes back to what I mentioned earlier, where it's like I love what I'm doing, but you as a government, you're saying you can't support me during these trying times where I can't find work, but you're also taxing me like 25% of my salary. How am I supposed to live? You know, so it's those kinds of things. It's like, at the end of the day, yes, I love what I'm doing, but it needs to also keep me eating. It's why a lot of us tend to do this thing where, yes, I'll get my after degree, but I'm also going to study something else so I can have like multiple qualifications. So for me, things that I've found, like the hard realizations, it's gonna get dark a little bit quick, is that as a woman, I'm not safe in the industry that I love the most. In the country as a whole, yes, but in the industry as a woman, I'm not safe in that industry. And there's always this paranoia, like when you get that call for a job, it's like, are they calling me because of my skills? Did they see my CV? Did they see my struggle, or did they see me? You know, there's always that thing. Because I remember like last year, there was this call from this person who was looking for after students, and like a fellow student of mine went, but the whole time we were like, why were we feeling off? Like, they weren't asking any off questions or anything, but for us, the intuition was just like, you know what, I'm not gonna accept this. It sounds so good, but something about you is like, so there'll be times where we have to choose our safety over salary as women. Like every 5 seconds there's an actress who is sexually assaulted, a behind the scenes person, and that can also influence whether or not you're hired for future projects. And it's messed up that my chances of being hired are infringed upon by someone who's like, you did this to me, but now I'm the one who's going to be suffering for whether or not I get a job in what I love. That was the first like hard realization. And it was creepy because what brought this on for me was one of like my assisting projects last year. I can't really obviously mention anything about it, but it was one of the crew members who was jokingly flirting with the sis. Mind you, we're in second year. Most of us, obviously no one's the same age in university, but there's an average in age. Most of us are like 19, 20. This is like a mid to late 30s person making like lewd jokes around female assists on set, and it's like, we're just supposed to play it off because if you say something, if you're offended, they're not going to call you back. I think it was one of the hardest realizations. Is like, I love this so much, but I'm not safe in that space. And it's sad to not be safe in a space that you love, you know, because for me, film, like being creative production design at school was like my safe space. I could be stressed and I would just, you know, go do my production design assignment and I could zone out and I'd be fine afterwards, you know. So it's sad that in the industry out there, my gender already precedes anything and everything I do, and it could determine whether or not I'm safe or not in that space. And then the second thing is our industry, especially here, I'm not sure about the US, I'm pretty sure the US is a lot more lax with this, but in our country, they expect you to be like talented. So if you're an editor, you need to be an editor who can do graphics, who can color grade. If you're a production designer, because production design and art directing, there's a reason why they're separate titles. There's like multiple titles underneath. It's like they do their own things. You can't be like an art director, but you can't use like software, for example. You need to be able to do a lot before they take you on. I don't know how many like job applications, like I wanted to apply for it, but they were like, no, you need to be able to do this and this and this kind of software. And unfortunately, we were not taught it after. And right now, I do not have the funds to have a laptop that supports me learning how to use that software. So by virtue of not being skilled and not being able to get that skill, I cannot apply for the job. And it's sad because it's like, I already studied for this, but by virtue of not having this extra skill that you guys are not even going to pay me for, I can't even apply for the job. And that was a very sad realization. But hey, you know, we just have to move. So there's really not much we can do about it.
And I mean, definitely the money thing, like if you don't land a job, what then? What do you do then? Like, how are you going to get an income? But besides that, the one thing that I found kind of, it's nothing you can really do about it, but when it comes to the performance side, generally they look for, if I can say it like this, an average looking person, someone who can fit any role. So for me, I'm short, I'm Indian, it's a very specific look that they would need me for. it's not just any role I could fit into. So that is also quite hard. So if you don't have that typical average look, if I can say it like that, that could fit any kind of role, then you're gonna have to wait until, I don't know, until it's divine timing, I guess.
Mm.
Yeah. But other than that, I mean, the other difficult thing that I would say is it's just exactly what you said. If you don't get a job straight out of the industry, what do you do in the meantime until you get that job?
Mm.
Like, do you just practice and just do any menial tasks in the meantime just to get an income? I don't know what people do. I mean, in the movies we see, oh, you see that waitress there serving coffee, she's just waiting to get her lucky break as a star in New York. And is that what people are doing? Waitressing in the meantime?
That's a good question. Hey, that was a very good question. So I think it also just goes back to us collaborating and really being in foundation where we help each other to grow, you know? So as much as I think, just like Kat was saying, that as much as the industry won't allow us in because we are newbies, then we have to prove ourselves. And the only way to prove ourselves is by collaborating together and showing them that this is us. And hey, guys, funding is the reality of it is that money is a problem.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us today and for educating us on the industry that we're in, especially from your point of view, because I understand that each and every single person has their own journey that they're traveling and they have their own opinions that they have. So I think this was really like an eye opener, and I learned a lot from you guys, like some new things, some new information that I'm not even familiar with. And I just want to thank you so much for being here with us. And I hope that you guys find each other and communicate, you know, collaborate and get things done. And honestly, I will also leave the links to your Instagram accounts on my YouTube channel so that others can find you and you can find each other. So thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jimmy.
you.